80 million years ago, two dinosaurs, a crested protoceratops and a sharp-clawed velociraptor, fought to the death. Somehow, as they died in the sands of the Gobi Desert, their battle was frozen in time. The velociraptor flat on its back, its clawed arm caught in the jaws of the protoceratops. An extraordinary fossil. A mysterious glimpse of life and death in the age of dinosaurs. For more than 150 million years, dinosaurs roamed every corner of the planet. Only a very few left evidence of their existence, their fossilized bones. And those bones never cease to fascinate us. Dinosaurs came in amazing shapes and sizes. Some were the largest animals ever to walk the earth. Paleontologists, the scientists who study prehistoric life, are discovering more dinosaurs now than ever before. And this fossil evidence is allowing them to reconstruct not only their strange skeletons, but also their lives. An example is this gigantic, long-necked plant eater known as Seismosaurus. Found in New Mexico, it lived during the Jurassic period, 150 million years ago, when many dinosaurs grew to unprecedented size. Seismosaurus means earth-shaking lizard. And there's no doubt that its footsteps echoed across the Jurassic landscape. Measuring 110 feet from nose to tail, it is one of the longest dinosaurs ever discovered. Strangely, when it was excavated, some 240 smooth, round stones were found in and around its huge stomach cavity. Some scientists believe Seismosaurus swallowed stones to help its digestion. Others say that finding the stones was a coincidence, that they were part of the riverbed where Seismosaurus was found. Seismosaurus weighed over 30 tons, as much as 8 elephants, and must have consumed hundreds of pounds of vegetation every day. Sometimes scientists can even learn what dinosaurs ate from clues they left behind in their fossilized dung. Dinosaurs were first discovered in Europe and America. But in the 20th century, scientific explorers struck out for the most remote corners of the Earth. And the full extent of the dinosaur kingdom began to be revealed. The Gobi Desert spans 500,000 square miles of Mongolia and China, the ancient land of Genghis Khan. Beneath sands that camel caravans traversed for centuries lay a vast treasure trove of fossils, undisturbed for more than 70 million years, that would forever change our view of dinosaur life. 1920s, a team of scientists from the American Museum of Natural History set out to explore the little-known Gobi. Their leader was Roy Chapman Andrews. Andrews and his team traveled in a fleet of automobiles. It was one of the first major expeditions to use motorized transport in Central Asia. To keep his expedition supplied, when the nearest gas station was 1,000 miles away, he came up with a novel plan, sending out camel caravans in advance, loaded with food and fuel. And the camels provided an unexpected service to the expedition. Hair plucked from their shedding winter coats was ideal for packing fragile fossils. Mongolia was a dangerous place, full of roving bandits. But Andrews, thought to be the inspiration for Indiana Jones, reveled in the adventure of it all.
Never again will I have such a feeling as Mongolia gave me. All this thrilled me to the core. Somewhere in the depths of that vast, silent desert lay those records of the past that I had come to seek.
Andrews fended off the bandits, but he and his team could not avoid the violent sandstorms that often sweep across the Gobi. To their amazement, they found that each new storm uncovered a wealth of bones. Dinosaur bones, never before seen and perfectly preserved in the desert sands. Mark Norell and Mike Novacek of the American Museum of Natural History, following in Andrews' footsteps, have been leading expeditions to the Gobi every year since 1990. Fascinated by dinosaurs in their youth, Mike and Mark have become renowned paleontologists. They've dug dinosaurs all over the world, but they've made their most spectacular finds here in the Gobi Desert. Dr. Julia Clark has arrived in Mongolia's capital, Ulaanbaatar, with graduate students Alan Turner and Amy Balanoff to prepare for this year's expedition.
Yeah, we're walking over to the temple, right?
They are part of a team that will join Mike and Mark in the desert.
This will be my 6th summer in the Gobi. Mongolia has proven so rich in fossils, I know that each year there will be great new finds to be made.
There are few paved roads outside of Ulaanbaatar. The team's destination in the western Gobi is a minimum of 3 days driving. A Mad Max journey over hot, dusty plains and through mountain passes. In 1921, after months of overland travel, Roy Chapman Andrews' motor caravan came across a strange and beautiful place of eroded canyons and sandstone towers. The late afternoon sun seemed to set the rocks on fire. Andrews named it the Flaming Cliffs. Here they would come upon one of the greatest repositories of dinosaur remains ever found. More than 80 years later, the Flaming Cliffs are still a fabled and productive destination for dinosaur hunters. To find dinosaurs, paleontologists must first look in the right places. They know that fossils are preserved in certain rock deposits. The only tool they need at first is keen eyesight. Tiny white bone fragments on the surface hint at what could be an entire dinosaur buried below.
There's a lot of bone in here.
Always a good place. Hey, come check this out.
Oh, what?
An egg.
With decades of experience, Mike and Mark can readily spot fossils and identify them.
That's a nice one.
For grad students Alan and Amy, time in the field is the best way to develop their own skills.
This is my first time going to the Gobi with Mark and everyone. I'm really excited and happy to be part of a tradition that goes back to Roy Chapman Andrews.
I don't know, where to?
The Gobi expeditions are a collaboration with the Mongolian Academy of Sciences. This year, Mongolian grad student Boldra Minjin joins the team.
My father is a paleontologist, and when he first showed me a giant skeleton found in Mongolia, I couldn't believe such animals really lived. I have loved finding fossils ever since.
Judy! Wood fossils.
You got going over here?
What do you find?
Today, after only a few hours of searching, the team uncovers a fossilized skull. Julia is quick to recognize it as that of a large, armored dinosaur.
It's called a Pinacosaurus. It was sort of the heavy tank of its day. With experience, we can visualize what fossils like this would have looked like in life. Pinacosaurus and its relatives, like this Tarkia, were built for defense. Their backs bristled with rows of hard bony plates and spikes. Even their eyelids were armored, and their tails ended in a massive bony club.
This one is from Bugintab.
One of Tarkia's few enemies was the ferocious Tarbosaurus, whose bones have also been found in the Gobi.
Yeah, actually, it's the proximal end. It's very nice. You can see how it's still hollow here, just like a bird bone is.
Tarbosaurus was a close relative of Tyrannosaurus rex, and it was a top predator. It was 30 feet long and weighed 5 tons. It had a supersized bite with razor-sharp teeth nearly 6 inches long. Scientists have debated for many years how fast or slow these big predators were. This scale model of a T-Rex skeleton reveals how a massive two-legged or bipedal dinosaur might have moved. As they walked, they shifted their entire weight from leg to leg, as humans do. Their large tails helped to balance them. Their legs were directly beneath their hips, allowing them to carry more weight and move faster. Dinosaurs like T-Rex could have reached speeds up to 25 miles per hour, faster than an average human could run. Tarbosaurus was at the top of the food chain in the area of Asia that is now the Gobi Desert. But Tarkia was no wimp and could use its tail club to cripple or kill an attacker. In the 1920s, the Andrews expeditions found a number of new dinosaurs. Their most important discovery wasn't a ferocious predator. It was something rather small, but one of the great dinosaur finds of all time. They found the first dinosaur eggs, lying in large round nests in the ground. This amazing find confirmed that dinosaurs actually laid eggs. Andrews and his team believed the eggs belonged to Protoceratops because they found so many of these dinosaurs in the Gobi. About the size of sheep, Protoceratops had a distinctive head shield and a hook-like beak. On top of one nest, they made a puzzling discovery. The skeleton of a bird-like, meat-eating dinosaur, definitely not a Protoceratops. They concluded that it was a predator that had been raiding the nest. It was named Oviraptor, meaning egg thief. It took 70 years to prove they were wrong. In 1993, Mark Norell made an extraordinary find in the Gobi: a fossilized dinosaur embryo.
We discovered that it was the embryo of a very close relative of Oviraptor. In other words, the dinosaur was not stealing the eggs, it was a good parent brooding them.
The discovery of oviraptors preserved on their nests sheds new light on these dinosaurs. They sat on their eggs, just like modern birds. Many of the Gobi dinosaurs are in a remarkable state of preservation, undisturbed by scavengers or damaged by erosion. Not only oviraptors, but many others, like the fighting dinosaurs. And even a nest full of barely hatched baby Protoceratops. How did they die so suddenly and remain so intact? Until recently, it was thought that sandstorms buried these creatures. New evidence suggests a much more spectacular scenario. During this expedition, heavier than normal rainfall flooded parts of the Gobi. And according to a new theory, water and sand dunes played a dramatic part in preserving dinosaur remains. Scientists now believe that every few centuries, rainstorms of immense power swept down on this arid world with catastrophic effect. The inhabitants could not have known what was coming. A pair of speedy, aggressive velociraptors were on the hunt and approach a large group of nesting oviraptors. But on this day, unaware that they are chasing their last meal. Bones become fossilized when they are quickly buried, protecting them from weather and predators. Over time, living tissues decay and bone is replaced by minerals seeping in from the surrounding sediment. But bones are not the only clues to the understanding of dinosaur life. New evidence is revolutionizing our view of dinosaurs like Velociraptor. Long thought to be leathery-skinned or scaly, Velociraptor was in fact covered with feathers. And though it could not fly, it had the same S-shaped neck, four-toed feet, and many other features that birds have today. Julia Clark is using the very latest evidence to study one of nature's most enduring mysteries, the origin of birds, and how feathers develop to give them the power of flight.
Understanding the evolution of flight is, to me, one of the most interesting questions in dinosaur paleontology. Dozens of new dinosaur species are being discovered in the north of China. They're preserved in extremely fine volcanic ash, and for the first time we can see distinct impressions of feathers associated with their delicate bones, confirming to us that non-flying dinosaurs were the first feathered creatures on Earth.
But at least one group of dinosaurs like this Confuciusornis, recently found in China, did develop the body structure and kind of feathers that allowed them to take to the sky. "65 million years ago, dinosaurs disappeared from Earth, or so it was long thought. Today we know that the dinosaurs are not all gone. One line of dinosaurs survives, and we call them birds. Mongolia is a great place to find some of the last non-flying dinosaurs that lived on Earth. But to go back further in time and find the earliest dinosaurs, scientists come to places like the high desert badlands of New Mexico. The land has a rich and turbulent human history of Pueblo people, Spanish conquistadors, cowboys, and cattle rustlers. But it has an even richer history of life stretching back over 200 million years. It is one of the few places in the world where rock layers span the age of dinosaurs. The deeper the layer, the older the rock. At the top, rock from the Cretaceous. Below that, further back in time, the gold and white cliffs of the Jurassic. And near the bottom, the oldest red Triassic badlands, when dinosaurs first appeared. Alan Turner is having a busy summer. In addition to trekking across the Gobi, he is working with his fellow grad student Sterling Nesbitt on a new excavation at a place called Ghost Ranch.
Yeah, just up in these badlands? Yeah, definitely. This looks like it's gonna be real nice.
Sterling grew up in the Southwest, reading about dinosaurs and the amazing discoveries that have been made at Ghost Ranch.
I've spent every summer since I was 15 digging for dinosaurs. I've always wanted to be a paleontologist, so the chance to excavate at Ghost Ranch is a dream come true.
Ghost Ranch was explored in the 1940s by paleontologists from the American Museum. They discovered rich fossil beds 220 million years old, with hundreds of bones of a small early dinosaur now considered a kind of blueprint for the carnivorous dinosaurs yet to come. Named Coelophysis, it grew to 9 feet long and weighed 100 pounds. Its size and leg bones indicate an ability to run fast. On each hand, it had 3 clawed fingers for catching and holding prey. Large eye sockets suggest very acute vision. It all adds up to a small but effective predator. Pursuing his graduate research, Sterling became intrigued by the dozens of unexamined fossils at the museum, collected from Ghost Ranch in the 1940s. He knew that not all dinosaur discoveries are made in the field. Each expedition collects fossils and brings them back for later examination, but some remain in museum catacombs for decades, unopened.
It's amazing. When you walk through these catacombs filled with tens of thousands of dinosaur bones, some still wrapped in plaster, and you realize that they were dug up by really famous paleontologists. To get the chance to see what they saw for the first time in 70 or 80 years is pretty incredible. It took me a few months to prepare and remove the bones from the old plaster cast, but by comparing it to Coelophysis directly, I very quickly realized that this was not a dinosaur at all. It was actually an animal new to science. Hey guys, preparations are finally done on this.
It isn't often that a grad student discovers a new species. And when his find captures the attention of leading paleontologists like Mike and Mark, it's a memorable day.
Yeah, wow, look at this ankle, too. It's really nicely preserved.
Yeah. It's a totally new animal for Ghost Ranch.
Sterling named this new creature Ephigeia, the Latin word for ghost in honor of Ghost Ranch. It was up to 9 feet long and weighed about 200 pounds. It really looks like a dinosaur, but one bone tells a different story. The ankle is that of an ancient relative of crocodiles, telling us that Ephigeia was a member of the crocodile group. But strangely, Ephigeia walked upright on 2 legs.
After the discovery of Ephigeia, I knew I had to go to New Mexico. Looks like you have a nice Coelophysis skull here. My first stop was to see Alex Downs, curator of paleontology at Ghost Ranch, who's been working for years on Coelophysis.
The eyes were here and
This is one of the few places in the world where fossilized bones of early dinosaurs and their closest relatives are found together.
there's a somewhat larger one here. This is the tip of the snout, and we can see the teeth here. And we have a beautiful skull. It's just missing one tooth.
That's great.
For grad students like Sterling and Allen, who work in classrooms and labs most of the year, the opportunity to spend a few weeks on a hot, dusty hunt for dinosaurs is what they live for.
That was warm yesterday.
The new dig at Ghost Ranch is a joint project of the University of California, Berkeley, and the American Museum. Once the overlying tons of rock are removed, the grad students soon realize they've come upon a huge fossil site.
Trying to trench around this block. I think there's going to be some more theropod material in it.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. How about you?
There's a humerus of, looks like a sinosaurid, one of those dinosaur relatives over here.
For paleontologists, great work is often accomplished while lying down on the job.
It's right in that layer between the clay and the conglomerate.
That's going to be great.
Have you guys got anything over there, Stir?
Yeah, there's a really nice Spidosaur calcaneum. We hope to piece together a picture of which creatures lived in the late Triassic. No, it looks like it's just isolated.
Is it that lower conglomerate?
Yeah. What their surroundings were like, and where they fit into the family tree of reptiles.
When dinosaurs first appeared, this part of North America was a very different environment.
The region had a wet, tropical climate. Tall evergreen-like trees grew along the banks of streams and rivers flowing through a vast floodplain. All in all, it seems to have been a rich habitat for life. The question is, how did early dinosaurs interact with other animals?
Reptiles appeared on Earth before dinosaurs. Dinosaurs are reptiles too, but over 200 million years ago they branched off from the evolutionary line leading towards crocodiles. Ephygia was an early crocodile relative. Coelophysis was one of the first dinosaurs. Undoubtedly, they came across one another in the canyons and forests of the Triassic Southwest. The prospect of a new dinosaur discovery has brought Mike, Julie, and Mark to Ghost Ranch to see for themselves.
Yeah, here's the lower leg bone. Here's the other one. This is the fibula, tibia, and the other tibia, and part of the pelvis is coming out here.
Right, so the skeleton is sort of smeared across this direction.
And part of the femora. This area is a little bit
The
wetter.
number of fossils here is staggering. Layers and layers of animals are piled up in this mass burial place, which seems to have been a sharp bend in an ancient riverbed. What happened here? The high desert landscape is dramatic, and so are the torrential rain squalls that can turn dry canyons into raging rivers of death, as they must have done back in the age of dinosaurs. In Arizona's Petrified Forest National Park, 200-million-year-old fossilized trees are reappearing as the ground erodes around them, evidence of the ancient floods that violently uprooted and buried them. Though now extinct, these giant trees of the Triassic were similar to the Pacific redwoods of today. But it wasn't just trees that got swept up in ancient floods. Early dinosaurs like Coelophysis were always on the defensive. They lived in a world still dominated by larger reptiles, like this 1,500-pound Postosuchus. Flash floods washed the drowned bodies of reptiles and dinosaurs into concentrated deposits. Perhaps this is why Sterling and team are finding so many in one area. When they locate a skeleton, they carefully excavate around it, then cover it up with a jacket made of plaster and toilet paper, which always comes in handy out in the field. This protects the fossils so that they can be transported to the lab where the bones will be delicately separated from the rock.
This summer's dig at Ghost Ranch has been productive beyond our greatest expectations. We found something really exciting, and we think it may be a new dinosaur.
All right, get ready. Switch. Okay, It's thrilling to find a dinosaur we've never known before, that hasn't seen the light of day for over 200 million years. It will take many months to determine what it looked like and how important it is, but it will surely change our views of how dinosaurs rose to dominance. Oh, excellent. Preservation looks really nice. It's preparing very nicely in this area.
There are things the fossil record cannot preserve. that we may never know, such as the color of dinosaurs or precisely what sounds they made. But year by year, we learn more about them. Some dinosaurs traveled in herds and hunted in packs. We know that they made nests, protected their eggs, probably cared for their young. From some fossils, we've learned who were the hunters and who were the hunted. That feathers first appeared on non-flying dinosaurs before birds evolved. And that some dinosaurs live on as modern birds. Those who love to contemplate the secrets of the history of life must come to places like Ghost Ranch and the Flaming Cliffs. It is hard to imagine our own human sense of who we are and where we come from without the records buried beneath our feet. For young paleontologists like Sterling and Allen, the adventure is just beginning. 3/4 of a century ago, Roy Chapman Andrews discovered a whole new world of dinosaurs beneath the Flaming Cliffs. Camping in this magical place, he wrote in his diary of a sense of having traveled back in time. It's a feeling shared by paleontologists then and now.
In the evening shadows, the rocks took on fantastic shapes. We seemed to be living in the world of a long-gone yesterday. At any moment, I imagined that dinosaurs might wander to the doorways of our tents.
We have discovered less than 2% of all the dinosaur species that once lived. Imagine all those dinosaurs out there, yet to be found.
Dinosaurs Alive takes us from the remote Gobi Desert of Mongolia to the Badlands of New Mexico and 200 million years back in time.
Okay, there's boards here on the running.
But when making movies in 3D IMAX, the action on the screen is only part of the adventure. For this film, the crew must wrangle huge equipment in remote locations and operate the 3D camera in extreme heat and blowing sand.
If you go this way, you can frame the road out. You see
To tell this story and bring dinosaurs back to life, experienced IMAX directors Bailey Sillick and Dave Clark have teamed up.
Just watch yourself in here.
This is rattler
territory here, that's for sure. I think, yeah,
We found a dinosaur under the dolly tracks.
Thousands of animals.
We're sitting on dinosaurs as we work here.
That process of brushing away and discovering a bone.
I agree.
That moment of magic when they brush away all the 200 million years of time, and
history.
There's that bone that's never seen the light of day before. Never.
We were shooting this film in 3D IMAX. 3D is the largest camera in the world. It's called a Solido. It weighs about 225 pounds, fully loaded.
It's a dual strip 65mm camera. On the top, we have our right eye, and then on the bottom, we have our left eye. See here, we have our 2 lenses at the front.
These particular bags that hold 1,000 feet, and they're good for just slightly under 3 minutes.
Each 1,000-foot roll of film costs $1,000. Double that for 3D. When the camera rolls, it costs about $11 per second.
Oh no, what happened?
Oops, there goes $100.
Well, of course, the Gobi Desert is probably one of the richest hoards of late Cretaceous fossils, dinosaur fossils and other fossils, in the entire world. I don't think you understand the full immensity of the Gobi Desert until you've actually been here. The horizons seem, out at infinity. I have never seen dunes of that immensity. The highest dunes, I think, are over 800 meters. It is the most impressive dune field I've ever seen in my life. It's absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, you can go forward for still and then come parallel.
Being a producer on an IMAX shoot is sort of being like, I guess, a general. It's a small army you're working with. You've got a million details, keeping these ultra-sensitive cameras working, especially in a place like the Gobi where sand is flying all the time. The scale of it, 2 tons of equipment. I mean, we have a crew of about 15 people. We need 10 support vehicles, 5 massive Russian army trucks just to move us from place to place. It's the largest motion picture camera in the world. It takes 4 people to carry this camera into position, and of course, the shots we want are dramatic. We have to hike with this thing up into mountains and onto sand dunes and suspend it from enormous cranes, and so it's a real challenge, but obviously the payoff is spectacular. A 3D experience seen on a 5-story screen.
It rocks.
There's nothing to bring it back.
In the Gobi, there are no airports, no roadside motels, no roads, and no fast food. But there's plenty of sand.
This is how they do it in Lawrence of Arabia.
The sun is setting. The crew is scrambling to set up their shot. And the final task, giving directions to the camel driver in Mongolian.
Near the top.
They're going to go up the ridge and then they're going to come down?
Yep.
A few seconds here, guys. Yeah, they're just on the edge of frame, Dylan. Yeah, we're going to let them get well in here.
Capturing moments like these feels like being transported back in time. In 3D, there is no such thing as a simple shot. A close-up, moving over tiny dinosaur fossils in the sand, requires the coordinated effort of 5 people.
setting up a wonderful shot. We're here in the middle of the Gobi, setting up a crane shot that's going to portray the search for dinosaur bones.
To make the shot, there's a dolly and crane with 2 operators.
Forward.
Someone to move the camera end of the crane.
Pan right.
Another to control the camera's pan and tilt. And someone else to control the focus.
Snag it.
With no roads in the Gobi, vehicles stagger their position when driving to avoid eating buckets of dust. To film this, a gyro stabilizer to absorb bumps and vibrations is fixed to a truck's roof. With the camera mounted on the gyro, Director of Photography Bill Reeve prepares to get dirty. The Gobi is spectacular from any perspective, but to soar above it truly reveals its grandeur.
Aerials are always important in the IMAX medium. It's a visceral way to open up the expanse to the audience and really show them these dramatic scenics. It turns out there's only 2 working helicopters in all of Mongolia, and they are these enormous Russian Mi-8 helicopters.
We have someone on board that has an understanding of what we'd like to do.
The Mongolian pilot does not speak English, so pre-planning the shots is especially critical. Paleontologists sometimes use a helicopter to scout large areas for potential dig sites, so the directors decide to make the helicopter a character in the sequence. To shoot the scientists' aerial point of view, the crew makes the most of what they have, mounting a camera on a gyro stabilizer in the door of the Russian helicopter. And with over $500,000 worth of gear hanging out the door, the team makes sure it is well secured.
We went to New Mexico to film a legendary place called Ghost Ranch. It's been a tremendously productive area for dinosaur hunting. It began in the 1940s with a Dr. Kohlberg, who uncovered what turned out to be a graveyard of thousands, literally thousands of late Triassic dinosaurs.
This location is rich with dinosaur fossils, almost everywhere you look.
There's actually a partial dinosaur skeleton in there, and this is apparently going to be an arm of a Shuvasaurid or a thing like Ephygia, possibly.
Vertebra, a tooth, and a piece of phytosaur armor.
Oh my gosh.
These are like armor plates in the shoulders and on the legs that once the animal dies, they just fall off. But they're really robust, so we find them everywhere.
But before shooting at Ghost Ranch can begin, the team has to figure out how to get 2 tons of gear over fragile ground.
They don't want that walked on. He's going to create a new path for walking only. Then we have to hand carry it on plywood from where we cross the arroyo to the dig site. It's not going to be easy. Start shooting tomorrow.
You can see the dig site from the road, but it's on very environmentally sensitive land. While we were able to move our vehicles up through a dry arroyo, a dried out riverbed, the last couple hundred yards to the dig site, that we had to put some sort of a road or platform down over the sensitive environment.
Yeah, I'll clean this out both ways, and I'll give you enough room for you can turn
just
around.
go around, and come back and go to the same way and keep, keep it in the path.
Then we're talking plywood.
So the solution was to buy $2,000 worth of plywood and build a plywood highway.
To make each shot visually active, dollies and cranes are often used. But building them into mountainsides under scorching heat is a challenge.
Okay.
I mean, what's going to look spectacular about this is like looking out at the blue sky and the puffy clouds and establishing that big hillside, and then you tilt down and you see this plan view of the entire operation down below you, and then you just dive in like this.
Ah, great. I love it. I love it. You're beautiful, baby. Just like that. Just like that.
Okay, stand by, everybody.
The directors are always thinking of ways to maximize the 3D effect. Bailey comes up with the idea of dirt in your face.
You know, there's going to be gravel just flying right into the camera in IMAX 3D. Okay, let's roll sound.
Quiet, please.
Speed.
Mark it.
Stop it.
Fantastic.
Yeah, that's great.
Very, very nice.
Fragile dinosaur fossils are wrapped in a plaster cast to protect them on their way to the lab. The cast, called a jacket, can weigh hundreds of pounds.
Okay.
For this shot, both IMAX crew and paleontologists will have to do some heavy lifting.
Watch it. Watch it drop. 2, 3. Got it.
The jacket almost collides with the camera.
Whoa! That's great.
But makes a great shot.
That better end up in the editing room.
Yeah. Bam! Oh, God.
Many of the dinosaurs at Ghost Ranch were buried in flash floods, and the team wants to show how this happened.
If we get a good storm sequence, you know, with big clouds building, angry sort of storm clouds building, it could be our lead up to the drowning of the dinosaurs in animation.
A time-lapse shot of an approaching storm will dramatically illustrate this threat. Of course, the best location is on the top of a very steep hill, accessible only by foot.
Crappy time with that Cleopatra.
There.
That's a good workout.
Now the best part of
To show building storm clouds, the IMAX camera is set up to shoot one frame every minute all afternoon.
According to the newspaper this morning, the really bad thunderstorms this afternoon. Good. So
6 hours of weather is compressed into a 10-second shot. To introduce grad students Sterling and Alan, who are leading the dig at Ghost Ranch, the plan is to film them driving in their Jeep, up close and from the air. That sounds simple enough. To make this shot, first a camera mount is built on the front of their Jeep.
Okay, thank you.
4 hours of rigging, and they're finally ready to roll. Can you find the cameraman in this shot?
I just clipped my...
The second part of the shot is a bit trickier. A helicopter is rigged with a 3D camera on its nose.
And then we can do a reset, come back, and then just see if you boys need it.
Helicopter pilots for film shoots really become the cameramen. The movement of the camera and drama of the action is determined by how they fly the shot.
And then we can come up alongside, and then, you know, we don't want to see in because we can't.
To make this shot, the pilot must carefully maneuver around a helicopter's worst enemy, power lines.
I think it could be a little dangerous. It's tricky when you come over these ridges because you can find rotors on the other side of these ridges, and the helicopter can start doing weird and dangerous things.
Leaving the dust and heat of New Mexico and Mongolia behind, the IMAX crew travels to the redwood forests of Northern California for their final filming.
This is it. We've been to the ends of the earth. We've been to the Gobi, we've been to New Mexico, we've been in 120-degree heat, and now we're freezing in Fern Canyon. This is our last week of CGI backplate photography. We will soon have dinosaurs racing through the canyons.
It's a gorgeous location, absolutely beautiful. 50-foot high walls of ferns, just spectacular.
The dinosaurs in the film are created via computer graphic imagery, or CGI. But the backgrounds they interact in, called backplates, are real-life environments. The challenge is to find locations with vegetation that existed when dinosaurs roamed the Earth. Fern Canyon is one such place.
Action!
It will take 3 weeks with a full camera crew to shoot the backplates for the dinosaur scenes. All the dinosaur sequences and every movement they make are first created in storyboards. With some digital magic, natural scenes like this will be transformed into this.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and cut it. Hold your angle. Okay, we got it, Hero. We're not shooting.
Visual effects supervisor Craig Clark sets up visual markers as cues to where the dinosaurs will later be added.
We're putting in tracking markers so that we can lock our 3D dinosaurs when they come through in frame. We're going to measure the distance between them, come down off the log, jump down, and this will just make sure that we can keep them on the ground.
The digital animation is then composited with the live-action backplates to create a realistic sequence.
I love this location. It's going to be really cool having these things come through, running all through here. It's going to be great.
Dinosaur cutouts and crude animations called previs help the film crew frame the action and their shots.
Except I think he needs to be further over.
computer graphic company in Montreal, over 100 digital artists worked to create the cast of dinosaurs.
Things have really gotten very, very sophisticated in recent years, so we can now model dinosaurs in a much more realistic way than ever before.
It's just very demanding to be able to generate images that are believable on the IMAX screen. Rendering is the process whereby you take all the 3D information and you calculate it and generate 2D images. And in IMAX, the rendering needs are staggering.
Take two with fog.
With fog machines to set the mood, just add dinosaurs, make them real, then hold on to your seats. To create a pack of Coelophysis dinosaurs chasing Ephygia, the backplate for the entire chase has to be filmed. A cameraman wearing a Steadicam stabilizer holding a 3D camera is pushed on a soft-wheeled buggy to create the point of view of the chase.
Fern Canyon was the most challenging sequence. We had a dinosaur running through it that nobody had ever seen run before.
She's frantically trying to get away and screaming. We layered in dinosaurs one by one in the back. And to make it more interesting, I added some dinosaurs leaping out from behind the trees and trying to bite her here and there.
I make the color, the specular, and all that good stuff to sort of bring it to life. And when I get the model, he looks a little gray, beautifully smooth. So this is what's going to translate my 2D painting onto our 3D character.
It was a long slog, and it was a lot of work, but
what you end up with is a really nice polished image that will blow your socks off.
To render the dinosaurs in this film took over 7 million minutes of computer time. If this had been done by a single computer, it would have taken 14.5 years. Luckily, with lots of computer power, these dinos were brought to life in about 8 months.
And on the second graph, emphasize Andrews, but Andrews...
As the digital dinosaurs are coming to life, it's time to add a voice to the film. The voice of Academy Award winner, Michael Douglas.
And those bones never cease to fascinate us. Dinosaurs came in amazing shapes and sizes. Some were the largest animals ever to walk the earth.
And a film of grand scale is made grander still by the energy and emotion of a powerful music composition performed by world-class musicians. The Prague Symphony Orchestra records the score, composed by Michel Cousson. IMAX films are collaborative efforts, employing the talents of many. And while camera crew in the field numbered about 15, the entire number of people who worked on the film totaled nearly 300.
That would be a great shot.
Look good. Look good. We want to thank everybody here for making it a big success.
Hey!